come back and you're performing again and you're touring, what is the difference and how hard is it to tour now than what it was before? Or is it easier to tour now than what it was before?
Perhaps physically it's a bit more difficult. I woke up this morning with an enormous bruise on my... I don't know where that came from. Knees hurt and all that sort of stuff. So, but I think that's just age. But we're doing it a lot more sensibly now. You know, although having said that, we've just finished a run of 6 shows in 7 days. But never mind. But we don't do any more than 3 on the batter. You know, so we'll do 2 shows a day off, 3 shows a day off, and that sort of stuff. And we stay in a little more comfortable places than say we would have 30 years ago. And we don't share rooms, you know, and things like that. But the shows are a lot nicer. There's more health and safety. We haven't got 200 skinheads on stage which was kind of fun up to a point, but then gets a bit scary when there's, you know, an awful lot of people trying to get on stage. So the shows are produced a lot with a lot more sort of security in mind, but it doesn't stop everybody having a good time, mind. And although perhaps it's not as exciting as it was 30 years ago when you're doing it for the first time, when you're learning all that stuff, it's still immensely enjoyable because you know you're giving, you know, so many people such a, you know, really a real good time.
It's a age-old question. Would you like to go back to relive that time again, or are you happy to have done that and happy to be in the space you are now and performing as you are now? You know, a couple of bruises and their knees are hurting a little bit more than now. Would you actually like to go back for a couple of weeks or 6 months and relive that again?
Perhaps a couple of days. I think, because I think I think if you did put an old head on young shoulders, it wouldn't work. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Because it had to be of the time, you know. And it was because it was 1979 and I was 27 that it meant something. Whereas it's the same thing, but I'm 58 and it's 2011 and it's the same but different. Does that make any sense at all?
It makes total sense to me, absolutely. I don't know about the 16-year-olds, if it makes sense to them, but they'll have to learn, won't they? What influences you personally in music at the moment? Over the last 5-10 years, it's changed, obviously, from the period you're in.
I've got back into my blues. Hound Dog Taylor, who was a Chicago blues guitarist, drank himself to death in the time-honoured blues tradition in 1972. Sounds like the Clash. It's amazing. I've also been listening to some of the Fat Possum record stuff, the North Mississippi bluesmen, R.L. Burnside, Junior Kimbrough, and people like that. Charles Caldwell, I think, is really good. But I've been getting a subscription to Songlines magazine, you know, the world music stuff. I bought some Tinny Rowen, went to see them, and all that kind of stuff. It's like the ghost of John Lee Hooker, but in Africa, and what else? There's a band called Speed Caravan who come out of France. It's a guy plays an oud, it's a 7-string lute, but it's amped up. And he sounds like Billy Gibbons. I'm a big secret ZZ Top fan. But it's with the electronic percussion, so it's like electro with this kind of weird ethnic music stuff on top. But it rocks. Wow. So there's a few things. Not a lot of contemporary UK music or American music, I'm afraid. Ben Harper, I think, is probably the only sort of contemporary American musician that I listen to.
How about the UK music scene? Is there anything exciting you there, or is there anything that just doesn't really kind of pull you in? I mean, tell me about the UK music scene for you and what it's lacking or what it's got.
I don't seem to be able to access it very well. I'm old, so I don't do computers.
Can we stop that now? You're not old yet.
No, okay, I am lazy. I don't do computers. Can I be? I will be old.
Okay.
30 years ago, you had Top of the Pops. So Thursday, 7:30, you knew what was number 30 right up until what was number 1. You could buy the New Musical Express, Melody Maker, and Sounds, and whatever. So, and that was it. So it was all very sort of polarised. You knew what was in and what wasn't. Now, for me, it's all alternative death metal, you know, AOR, R&B, dubstep, blah blah blah, and it's like, yes, which, you know, so it seems to be polarised, and I haven't got the time or the inclination to sort of to sift through all the genres and watch sort of 32,000 clips of bands on YouTube to find out, you know, all the it was all filtered before and presented to you as what was happening, and now it's like, well, you got to find it yourself. And I've got other things to do, to be honest.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
I totally understand. I mean, my life is just submerged with the internet and computer, and I wish I could get away with it. But, you know, I'm of a certain... I'm not a teenager as well, but I do find that I've discovered bits that are great that I just wouldn't find anywhere else. Also, I think it's a shame about from the past is we have terrible artwork now. We don't have it on albums. Can you remember when the artwork was one of the main things about an album?
Yes, I have bought albums because I like the picture on the front, you know, and often been disappointed. But some, but yeah, it was a 12-inch, you know, 12-inch square. Yeah, okay. Right back to like Sergeant Pepper's, which was Peter Blake.
Sure.
You know, through to all sorts of, you know. But even like the factory record stuff in the 80s, was that Peter Saville did all those, all the factory stuff. Yeah, they were terrific. Now you just got a little 5-inch square, and it's just like name of the band as big as possible because you got to get that over quickly at the top, because if it's at the bottom and you're looking through the racks, you don't see it. You know, dude. So it's you're right. But you can kind of fold out stuff. But yeah, you're right. It's not the same.
Let's talk about your artwork.
Please.
What brought on coming together independently on your own to produce work?
I'm art school. It was at the Lanchester Polytechnic in Coventry where I met Jerry Dammers. Where I was doing my art degree. He was the year below me. I graduated in 1975. Art's always been there. Whenever the band would be in New York, everybody else would hit the hotel bar. I would go to the Museum of Modern Art or the Guggenheim, you know, and I'd use touring as a great excuse to go and see, you know, some fabulous paintings that I've known in sort of illustrations for ages. Consequently, I'd always sort of dabbled, but obviously spent too much time playing music to take it that seriously. But from the years 1998 to 2008, I worked as an art teacher in a special needs school just outside of Coventry, which kind of got me to focus on what I liked about art, so I could basically sell it to the students, to the children, and that sort of made me reappraise how I viewed the subject. And then I started painting, just sort of as much as a teaching aid for the children, and then finishing some pieces. And I did a couple, and I did a few more, and then the specials reformed, and while there was the downtime, this was a great thing to do. It was either that or gardening, you know. No, but I really got into it, and all of a sudden I got like a folio of work together, and I think I should do something with this, because why not? You know, you have one life left, and you know, here's something that I want to do, and I just found that it didn't exactly take me over, but I just became really committed to it. And I think I'd finally got the confidence to do it. It took me ages to be confident about being a bass guitarist. I would always be, oh crikey, I'm not as good as Jaco Pastorius or James Jamerson. But actually, I came to realise it doesn't matter. Yeah. Hey, you know, I'm not as good as Peter Blake, or I'm not as inventive as, you know, as Pablo Picasso or whatever. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I can make these. So let's go ahead. And then, but all the influences that I'd seen from like the past sort of 30 odd years all sort of crashed in, and then I started making these paintings. It was really cool.
Would you say there's a strong identity with pop art and kind of like communist propaganda stuff?
I like the idea of icons, that sort of monolithic single figure, right. Saint somebody or other. Sure. But that's very much in a sort of that sort of Peter Blake tradition, with the pictures of him with badges and all that, and that sort of the same with Warhol. He would get and that thing about elevating the mundane, which is kind of okay. So everyone's equal, which it kind of goes with that sort of socialist kind of thing. So can you see it all? It all sort of like intertwines itself. But that thing about elevating the mundane is great. I take sort of secret photographs of people selling newspapers and selling postcards and security guards and that sort of stuff, and then try and make and sort of present them in a sort of an iconographic way.
Right.
It's because icons are fascinating. I've always been interested in them. You know, that sort of it's kind of practical art. It's like a talisman. It's like a a lucky charm almost, but in art. And I have quite an affinity with objects. I play a guitar, you know what I mean? I have a relationship with a lump of wood,
Sure.
And I know that I will save that in a fire instantly,
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, and I think, so that sort of relationship with objects and trying to present people in that sort of like sculptural form, just seemed like it worked. And sort of something that I would do, but that's one of many influences, really.
Sure. And this body of work, I suppose, is finished now. You're just ready to exhibit it. Once it shows up, it's over for you, isn't it? On that sense, have you got a plan for your next body of artwork, or are you going to just let it calm down for a bit and rethink, or can you calm down, or are you one of these creatives that has to have something on the go all the time, otherwise they go insane?
There's 3 or 4 things on the go at the
Right,
moment.
But
I've revisited some what I call blues paintings. I've always wanted to express blues, the music, what it means. Like, okay, I know what it sounds like, but if it could look like something, what would it look like?
Sure.
So I've started work on some pieces that I call my blues paintings. They're not. They're basically prints of. There's foot square prints that I've enlarged. Now, you're not when you do the print process, you're supposed to make things smaller, but I've enlarged them and then worked on them, and then taken prints of them. So they're quite big. They're sort of 2 foot square things. But I'm quite excited about them. They're not like they're not like the icon stuff at all. So I don't know. I worry about that. It's like, is this too soon for the concept album? Have I, because I always think of things in terms of music. So this is my solo album. So perhaps I ought to, do another solo album before I do the concept album. I don't know. I don't know. Perhaps the rules are different in art. I don't know. I'm finding this out. Yeah.
I think time is a great thing in art, and also just not making mistakes, which is just doing anything. I think the mistake is thinking about it too much and trying to perfect a situation. I think you just have to do it, and it's different to the music industry, which has that commercial element to it. The art doesn't really have any commerciality to it, does it? So you might as well just do it. And that,
I think if people love it, then that's great. Then I'm thrilled. But if not, hey, I really enjoy doing it.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Great, it's nice to see you. We're going to come down to your exhibition, check it out, and good luck with the show on the road with specials. This is 55 TV.